Okay, tambourine is one of the most underrated percussion instruments because there are so many ways to play it. All of the ways you can play single notes on your knee, on your hands, with different amounts of fingers, all the ways you can play rolls, thumb rolls, shake rolls, and the music is interesting. The way that people write for tambourine is interesting. When I went to Interlochen camp when I was in high school, I learned that you can tell the difference between serious percussion players who are looking ahead to their future and people who aren't thinking ahead, who maybe aren't as serious, by how much they've worked on the accessory instruments. Because you play tambourine and triangle and cymbals and bass drum in orchestra just as much or more sometimes as snare drum and xylophone. You can hear when somebody sounds like a true tambourine player rather than somebody who's a percussionist who just picked up the tambourine for an upcoming audition. If you want to become a tambourine player, a master of the tambourine, I made this warm-up for you called the Percussion Hacker Tambourine Warm-Up, and you can download that at robknopper.com/tambourine warm-up. And by the way, if you like this video, make sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I've been doing a lot of these how to warm up on different instrument videos. When you're working on tambourine, I want you to focus on two different levels of tambourine playing. Level 1 is the stroke type, and then the level underneath that is all the variables and varieties of ways you can play each of those stroke types. So let's break it down into different stroke types first of all. There's all the different ways you can play single notes. So with your fingers, with your fist, you can play with your knee. You can turn the instrument over and play it that way. Then there's different kinds of rolls. You can play a thumb roll. I actually only use my middle finger for thumb rolls. I never used my thumb, I just never learned it that way. And shake rolls. So I want you to spend time focusing on each one of those stroke types and working with all the different variables of ways you can play that. So if you're just talking about single notes with your fingers on the head, right? There's all these variables and varieties of ways you can play. You can choose what part of the head to play on. You can choose at what angle away from where you're holding onto it. Is it here? Is it right across? Is it on the side? Is the tambourine flat and parallel to the ground? Is the tambourine upright and perpendicular to the ground? All of that affects how gravity pulls down on the jingles, and it's going to affect your sound. How does your hand interact with the head? Is it forcing itself into the head? Is it playing a rebound stroke? There's no right answers to these. I just want you to get familiar with the different ways of playing. When it comes to knees, all of the same types of things. Where do you play with your right hand? Where on your knee are you hitting the tambourine? How loose is your left hand as you're playing it? Are you holding on tight and mostly moving your elbow? Or are you moving your wrist a lot like this as you play on your knee? Oh, and then there's grip. Exactly how are you shaping your fingers as you decide to hit the tambourine? Are you bracing your finger with your thumb? Try all the different varieties and become familiar with how they sound and feel and what kind of produced sound it makes, building your palette of colors of how you can play the tambourine. Then with rolls, with thumb rolls or finger rolls, play it with all the different kinds of varieties. You know, change the speed, change the placement. Again, change the angle. Are you moving the tambourine towards you, or are you leaving the tambourine and just moving your thumb roll hand? In terms of shake rolls, your ability to figure out how to play a shake roll is going to be during the process of experimenting with these different variables. So first of all, what angle are you holding the tambourine? Is it at an angle like this, or is it at an angle like this? How exactly is your hand holding on to the instrument? What fingers are touching and with what pressure? Practice different kinds of rotation. Is it just this kind of rotation, or is it also a little bit of this kind of rotation? And how fast exactly are you moving the tambourine as you're shaking? Can you play the variety of types of shake rolls from a medium slow to a super fast? I want you to be able to play with all the different colors on tambourine, and this is where it starts, by spending time on each of the stroke types during your warm-up and working your way through each of those variables and the range of those variables too. That's going to give you facility on tambourine, and it's going to build your abilities and your chops so that when you start playing etudes and exercises and excerpts, you're going to have the technique in order to play those. So again, that download is at robknopper.com/tambourine warmup, and I will see you guys in the next video.